Coming up on our newscast tonight. During Monday's cabinet meeting, President Moon Jae-in places extra emphasis on trade matters with Washington, adding that the government must resolutely deal with the U.S. unfair protectionist measures. Anticipation builds for more Olympic excellence by the home team. The Korean women's curling team surprised many with their hot streak, while the skaters seek to display their dominance on the ice arena. With the ruling bloc apologizing over a walkout and floor leaders of the three main parties holding a meeting to start the week, it's decided activities at Parliament will be normalized to attend to matters linked to improving people's lives. News Center begins now. It's 8 p.m. here in Korea, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. This is Arirang News Center. Welcome, I'm Daniel Choi. President Moon Jae-in called on officials to deal with Washington's unfair trade measures by considering drastic actions such as taking the matter to the WTO. His remarks come as the U.S. mulls slapping huge import tariffs on South Korean steel. Our Chief Cheong correspondent Moon Gun-young has our top story.
Be bold and resolute in dealing with unreasonable trade protectionism. That's South Korean President Moon Jae-in in response to the U.S.'s plans to slap up to 50% import tariffs on washers and solar panels, and the Commerce Department's latest recommendation to President Trump to impose steep curbs on all steel imports from a number of countries. On that list, South Korea. At a weekly meeting with its top aides on Monday, the South Korean president kicked off the first workday following a long holiday weekend on a stern note against Washington's move to protect its manufacturers.
불합리한 보호무역 조치에 대해서는 WTO 제소와 한미 FDA 위반 여부 검토 등 당당하고 결연히 대응해 나가고 한미 FDA 개정 협상을 통해서도 부당함을 적극 주장하기 바랍니다.
This is the strongest word yet from the South Korean president on the U.S.'s stepped-up efforts to protect its industries, and it came with a prescription seeking a fundamental solution to the nation's export structure.
또한 우리 기업의 수출 경쟁력을 높일 수 있도록 혁신 성장을 더욱 속도감 있게 추진하는 한편 신북방 정책과 신남방 정책의 적극적인 추진을 통해 수출을 다변화하는 기회로 삼아 나가야 할 것입니다.
The new northern and southern policies or strategies introduced by South Korea's Moon Jae-in administration aimed at expanding economic cooperation and exchanges with nations to the north, Russia and Eurasian economies, and to the south, linking South Korea, Southeast Asian nations, all the way to India. The South Korean president's unusually tough orders regarding Washington's growing appetite for trade protectionism is noteworthy, as the country in question is a U.S., an ally key now more than ever, considering the change in dynamics involving North Korea. The Blue House, however, drew a clear line between security and trade affairs, saying the president is adamant on keeping the two issues separate. Moon Gun-young, Arirang News, the Blue House.
Washington is considering imposing more import restrictions and tariffs on foreign producers in the name of national security. South Korea included, meaning local tech firms could also see trade barriers following complaints of patent infringements. Cha Sang-mi helps us gauge the repercussion from such trade protectionist policies.
Concerns are growing over the fate of Korea's major export items in the wake of continued global import restrictions by the United States, including recent safeguard measures against Korean-made steel and washing machines. The U.S. International Trade Commission on Sunday said it had already opened up a probe into several global tech giants, including South Korea's Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix on January 19th, to look into whether the companies are infringing upon intellectual property rights of solid-state drives. The investigation came after a U.S. chipmaker Bitmicro had filed a complaint against the firms in early January. The U.S. ITC can restrict import items under Section 337 of the Tariff Act on allegations of patent or trademark infringement. As Samsung Electronics has the largest SSD market share in the U.S., with 30% of the market, and SK Hynix is ranked 7th, some industry leaders see the move as a way to target the Korean firms. KOTRA, the Korea Trade Promotion Corporation, also picked steel, home appliances, and cars as areas that are likely to see import restrictions in the first half of 2018.
A lot of companies are being encouraged to file anti-trade suits, anti-dumping or safeguard. And you see a lot of investigations being started right now. Whether it'll spread to industries, other industries than steel or automobiles, it really depends on the company.
The expert predicts requests for import restrictions in steel and manufacturing sectors will increase in the future, not just for Korean goods, but other countries' goods as well. The U.S. Department of Commerce urged the Trump administration last week to impose steep tariffs and quotas on imported steel and aluminum, including shipments from South Korea. Section 232 of the National Security Review unveiled on Friday suggested a range of tariff options on imported steel and aluminum. One of the options is a 53% tariff on 12 steel exporting countries, including South Korea, China, and Brazil. President Trump will decide in April which tariff option to impose. Cha Sang-mi, Arirang News.
General Motors has decided to shut down an assembly plant in South Korea, part of their global restructuring program. The decision caused a massive chain reaction that could potentially affect thousands of people. Lee Jung-yeon has the details.
Last Tuesday, GM Korea announced that it would close down its assembly plant in Gunsan, Jeollabuk-do Province, one of its 4 assembly plants in the country, before the end of May. The move is causing a massive knock-on effect on local firms as car manufacture involves a large chain of suppliers. Around 2,000 are at the risk of losing their jobs at the plant, but subcontractors are also on the brink of bankruptcy, with their operations falling by 20% last year. Around 17,000 employees at 136 of GM Korea's first and second-tier subcontractors could be affected. One subcontractor said 8 out of 11 workers at the firm had already quit, as continued losses over GM's virtually non-existent production at Gunsan in the past year meant the subcontractor was unable to pay its employees. The motor company cited poor performance as the reason for the shutdown, blaming a fall in demand for its vehicles as well as high labor costs. GM Korea saw around 2 trillion won, or $1.8 billion in net losses for the 3 years up to the end of 2016, and last year the estimated net loss was around 600 billion won. Including family members of the laborers at GM, around 50,000 people are impacted by the shutdown. That's about 1/6 of the total Gunsan population. The ruling Democratic Party responded to GM Korea's decision by saying it cannot accept it, as General Motors has, quote, social duties to fulfill as a global corporation. Lee Jung-yeon, Arirang News.
We're into another week of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics. Hi, I'm Kim Hae-sung with the latest on the games. Let's take a look at the day's highlights so far. The quarterfinals of the women's team pursuit and speed skating just kicked off at 8 p.m. and South Korea will face the Netherlands, the winner of the women's team pursuit at the Sochi Olympics in 2014. The South Korea women's curling team is on a hot streak. In the 8th round robin session Monday morning, South Korea claimed victory against Sweden by a score of 7-6. This comes after beating Canada, Switzerland, Great Britain, and China by a big win of 12-5 yesterday. With 5 wins and 1 loss, South Korea's women's curling team now stands at the top of the group, tied with Sweden and Japan. South Korea will play against Team USA tomorrow at 2 p.m. Korea time in the 10th round robin session. The short dance program also took place this morning. South Korea's ice dance duo Min-yura and Alexander Gamelin scored 61.22 points, ranking 16th out of 24 teams in the short dance. The duo will perform their free dance under the traditional Korean folk song Arirang tomorrow. And now moving on to speed skating. South Korean speed skater Lee Sang-hwa secured a silver medal Sunday, becoming the first Asian speed skater to win a medal in the women's 500-meter event in 3 straight Olympics. The 2-time Olympic champion clocked in at 37.33 seconds, just 0.39 seconds behind Japan's gold medalist Naoko Taira. Though Lee Sang-hwa failed to get her 3rd gold, South Korean fans were cheering for her with chants of her name filling the arena.
And now that brings us to the medal tally so far. Germany tops the list with 9 gold, 9 silver, and 8 bronze medals, and Germany trailing behind with 9 gold medals, 5 silver, with a total of 18 medals. Sweden ranks 6th with 4 golds and 3 silvers. The host country, South Korea, is in 9th place with 3 gold medals, 2 from short track speed skating and 1 from men's skeleton. Well, and there's still a lot of exciting action for later tonight. The men's 500-meter speed skating event is slated for 9 p.m., where 3 South Korean athletes, including former Olympic champion Mo Tae-bum, will compete. And the final round for men's team ski jumping is also scheduled for 10:30 tomorrow, so don't miss it. That's all I have for now, and stay tuned to Arirang News for the latest updates on PyeongChang Winter Olympics, and I'll wrap things up with some of the event schedules for Tuesday.
Thank you for that, Ha-sung. And it's a league of their own on the sidelines of the big games. Pin trading. It's serious business to diehard fans. Scattered around the Olympic venues, these devotees gathered from across the globe are able to interact and expand their collection without speaking each other's languages. Let's dive into the world of pin trading, courtesy of our Lee Ji-won.
A massive crowd has gathered at a square in the Gangneung Olympic Park. It might look like they've come to see a medal race on the street, but in fact they're here to trade pins. Pin trading is one of the unique traditions that's developed over the years at the Olympic Games. Anyone with a pin can go up to a trader or anyone else with a pin they like and ask if they want to trade.
Hello. I want to change this bet to this.
Yes, that's from Vancouver 2010, and it's a hockey pin. Are you interested?
Okay, of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good trade. Thank you.
I traded my Korean flag badge with a pin from the Sochi Olympics. I'm trying to collect pins with the Olympic rings to commemorate the event.
Traders from all across the globe have been building their collections for years, and they have a keen eye for what visitors are offering. Though rare pins are much coveted, a pin that represents the ongoing Olympics and the host country is also greatly valued. And pin traders say that through trading, they can feel the Olympic spirit.
For the last 15 games, I've been actively pin trading and promoting the idea of fellowship through this kind of activity between the different venues. And everybody's just very excited that young girls come up and they're screaming and hollering. They see, so that's what warms my heart.
Many Olympic sponsors have also joined in the pin trading culture by giving out pins through various events. And starting with the 1988 Calgary Olympics, Coca-Cola has been setting up an official pin trading center.
People line up to learn more about the history of pin trading and enjoy the excitement themselves. And while this culture wasn't big in Korea before, it has quickly gained a lot of popularity among locals as well.
I didn't know much about pin trading before, but it seems like a nice way to remember the moment. It feels like a treasure hunt.
Pins have been available since the first modern Olympics in Athens to distinguish athletes, referees, and spectators, but they've now become a tradition that brings people from different countries and groups together to share not just the Olympic history, but the spirit as well. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News, Gangneung.
If you're in PyeongChang for the Olympics and have some time to spare between the exciting sporting events, here's a suggestion: sightseeing around the host city and even the surrounding Gangwon-do province. Won Jong-han shows us how one can make unforgettable memories in the beautiful alpine region by hopping on a cab for an affordable day-long tour.
After watching a sporting event at Gangneung Ice Arena, a family are on an unforgettable journey by taxi to their next destination. They're taking part in a program set up for PyeongChang 2018 by the Korea Tourism Organization, which arranged for more than 200 taxis to give private tours of Gangwon-do province during the Olympic and Paralympic Games.
The service was introduced at the start of the Winter Olympics to show people the ins and outs of Gangwon-do province. We'll do our best to provide a comfortable stay for every visitor.
Even if it's your first time in the area, with this program you won't need to worry about the fare or where to go, since you'll be on an exclusive tour with a local driver for a set fare. During the Winter Games, visitors who have purchased tickets to any winter sporting event can apply and enjoy a tour around the host province, taking in the region's natural scenery, traditions, and culture. The taxi tour service gets you 8 hours within a distance of 100 kilometers. This family has signed up for 2 consecutive days while they're in Gangneung, and they say they find it very convenient.
Before we came, we were concerned about the traffic and where to go in Gangneung, but our taxi driver has given us some great information, so it was very convenient for us to get around the Olympic city.
For less than $20, those of you with tickets for an Olympic or Paralympics event can not only tour Gangwon-do province, but also see some often hidden gems in the area. 원정환, Arirang News, Gangneung.
In the domestic political arena, rival parties agreed to normalize affairs, breaking a 2-week deadlock. They're expected to hold plenary sessions as scheduled to vote on bills linked to improving people's lives. Kim Min-ji has the latest from the parliament.
The National Assembly is back in action after a 14-day standstill. The agreement to normalize parliamentary activities came on Monday in a meeting of the floor leaders of the 3 main parties and the National Assembly Speaker. The deadlock was sparked by controversy surrounding a lawmaker of the main opposition Liberty Korea party, Kwon Song-dong, who's suspected of exerting pressure on an investigation into allegations of unfair hiring at Gangwon-land, a casino and resort company. The ruling Democratic Party of Korea demanded Kwon, who is the head of Parliament's Judiciary Committee, to step down and walked out of the committee meeting 2 weeks ago in protest. This prompted the main opposition to call for a boycott of all committees. The ruling bloc offered an apology for the initial walkout and called for an end to the paralysis.
Our members on the Judiciary Committee walked out over the issue of whether the head of the committee should leave, and as a result, the committee was crippled and the deliberation of bills was suspended. As floor leader of the ruling party, I apologize to the people.
With the tension somewhat eased for now, the main opposition vowed all-out efforts to improve people's lives.
Our party will do our best to normalize Parliament so that it can take up bills related to people's livelihoods. The floor leader of the ruling bloc apologized, so we will no longer take issue with the boycott and will cooperate to get the committee back on track.
They've brushed off concerns that the February parliamentary session could end up with nothing passed, with less than 10 days left before it comes to a close. With that deadline looming, the Judiciary Committee will convene a meeting on Tuesday to deliberate on bills related to bettering people's lives and boosting public safety, and have them ready for a full floor vote in the afternoon. However, there's another variable: whether rival parties will be able to make progress on crafting a proposal to amend the Constitution. The ruling party has proposed a meeting between the 5 main parties, saying there's not much time left if a referendum on the matter is to be held alongside local elections in June. But the main opposition is against holding both votes at the same time, saying it would politicize the Constitution, and has also reiterated that it is strictly against the idea of voting on amendment proposed by the government itself, which the administration has said is an option. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
With tensions on the peninsula easing during the Olympics, the possibility of U.S.-North Korea talks have been somewhat raised. Washington's top diplomat claims he is waiting for the regime to approach first, and until that moment comes, pressure and sanctions will remain in place. Kwon Jang-ho delves deeper into how things could unfold.
U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has reiterated that the White House is willing to work with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. During an interview with CBS on Sunday, he stressed that although military options remain on the table, a diplomatic resolution was best and that Washington is waiting to hear from Pyongyang that the regime is ready to talk. However, Tillerson also said that until then, the US will keep up its campaign of pressure and sanctions. He said the US is not using a carrot to convince Pyongyang to talk, but using large sticks, and added that North Korea keeping its nuclear arsenal buys the regime nothing other than further diplomatic and economic isolation. This was further emphasized by US Vice President Mike Pence, who at a Republican fundraiser on Saturday said that despite the recent thawing of tensions on the Korean Peninsula, there is no change in policy towards Pyongyang, and the strongest measures will remain until North Korea decides to give up its ballistic and nuclear missile programs. North Korea watchers say the possibility of US-North Korea talks are now closer than ever, but with Pyongyang having no interest in giving up its nuclear weapons, for now it's unlikely to progress further than exploratory talks.
North Korea has no reason not to take part in exploratory talks. The US also has nothing to lose. If something does come out of them, it will be great, and even if there's no progress, the US will continue its pressure campaign.
Meanwhile, Pyongyang is keeping up its anti-US rhetoric. North Korea's state-run newspaper, the Rodong Sinmun, accused the Trump administration on Monday of obstructing the improvement of inter-Korean relations with acts of continued pressure. The commentary also pointed to the joint US-South Korean military drills, which are set to return after the Olympics. Kwon, Arirang News.
Canada, widely acknowledged as a safe haven for refugees, but that may not apply to North Korean defectors. About 150 of them are reportedly facing deportation due to false statements in their asylum application forms. Here's Kim Jong-un with a closer look into the situation.
Canada, despite its reputation as a safe haven for refugees, has deported nearly 2,000 North Korean refugees since 2013. The reason, according to the Canadian government, is that the refugees simply lied on their asylum applications. As Canada continues to kick out North Korean defectors, another 150 are under imminent threat of deportation.
If the case turns out to be true, then there would be a statement issued from the UNHCR headquarters for the deportation of 150 North Koreans.
Al Jazeera interviewed a North Korean defector going by the surname Kim, who came to Canada 11 years ago with his wife, daughter, and son. They have 2 more children who are Canadian citizens. If deportation orders are given, it will be catastrophic for Mr. Kim's family. Another defector family under the surname Cho told Al Jazeera that the family did lie on their asylum application, saying they defected to China, not South Korea, to help ease the immigration process, adding that they did it to escape the horrible situation. The Cho family could be broken up too if Canada carries out the deportation orders.
The UNHCR cannot exert its own authority on other states for legal procedures without intergovernmental agreements.
According to the Canadian Federation of North Korean Defectors, family members still left behind in North Korea remain vulnerable because of the defectors' escape. Therefore, attracting attention to their situation could be deadly, as North Korean spies can track down the defectors, and if found by the North Korean government, their families in North Korea could be executed or sent to labor camps. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
Time to turn to Michelle Bog at the Weather Center for the updates you need. Michelle, today was certainly a nice break from the frigid winter conditions, but apparently can't get too used to it just yet.
Well, Daniel, although it was a cloudy day, temperature-wise, it was a very spring-like day, but that also means huge temperature gaps on our daily readings. And we might be hitting warmer temperatures into the afternoon, but after sunset and during the early hours of the day tomorrow, the mercury will still remain into the negative territory. So dress warmly and also in layers. Meanwhile, Seoul has been under a dry weather warning for the second day now, and pretty much most of the country is experiencing intense dry conditions as well. And tomorrow morning, the nation will be affected by the thick blanket of fine dust, with Seoul beginning the morning with -2 degrees Celsius, Daegu at -1, and Busan higher at 4 degrees. Into the day, the dust concentration will fade slowly, and Seoul reaching up to 6 degrees, while the southern regions makes up into the lower teens. And the weather will continue to be warm for the time being, although on Thursday, the central region will get some precipitation. As for PyeongChang, the host city of the Winter Olympics, the weather tomorrow is going to be similar or even milder than today's. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for you in tonight's edition of Arirang News Center. As always, thank you for staying with us.